Alright, everybody. This is like my 4th time recording this because, like, I keep rambling and it's kind of frustrating. So I'm going to try to keep this one short. But anyway, Week 8 of the National Pokeball League, you have the St. Louis Reshirams taking on the San Francisco Regigiants. A dream match, many would say. Our opponent is Mr. Murkrow, a fantastic and highly regarded Draft League player, someone who is the reigning GPC champion. And he is also someone who possesses the very, very coveted skill of getting 6-0'd by Magearna, something that only the elites know how to do. And I wouldn't consider myself to be as elite as Merc because I've never been 6-0'd by Magearna, but I have studied up on the results of this match, and I think I could describe to you guys the step-by-step process of how maybe you could potentially get 6-0'd by Magearna in your future matchups. So without further ado, we will get right into this process. So, seeing a team preview, Merc actually has, cause I don't have his team up here because I'm lazy and I don't feel like doing that. Merc's team is very good, and he actually has team matchup against me. So, that's pretty scary considering how good of a player and builder he is. So, he has this Pokemon named Torkoal. It was actually introduced in Ruby and Sapphire, and it's a fire type. Now, Magearna, the Pokemon that I mentioned before, is a steel type. Now, steel is weak to fire, and the fairy typing does not resist fire, so I take super effective damage from fire type attacks. Now, not only does fire resist steel, but it also resists fairy, Magearna's secondary typing, so that means that Torkoal is actually a decent offensive and defensive check to Magearna. Now, Torkoal in Generation 7 actually got this new ability called Drought. And what does Drought do, you may ask? Drought brings upon harsh sunlight and boosts fire-type attacks by 50%. So not only does Torkoal get stab on these fire-type moves, but it also gets another 50% boost with the sunlight. So, as you can imagine, with Magearna being weak to fire, Torkoal can do a lot of damage to it. And also because Magearna, its stabs are resisted by Torkoal, I don't have super effective coverage for the Torkoal. So if I bring something like Hidden Power Ground or Focus Blast, I can't do too much damage to especially defensive Torkoal. And even if I'm a Combine variant, even with a good amount of Spadef like I have on this set, a Lava Plume in the Sun does over 30%. So Magearna does not get reliable recovery in anything like Rest. I mean, it does get Rest, but it does not get Sleep Talk. So unless I'm Chesto Berry, which doesn't allow me to run Leftovers, which also kind of takes away from my recovery, then I don't have anything remotely close to reliable recovery. So Torkoal also has access to other fire moves like Flamethrower, Heat Wave, Fire Blast, all things that have more power than Lava Plume. So you can imagine if Lava Plume's doing 30% at +1 special defense for Magearna, then those other fire moves will do even more damage. Now, another crazy thing about Torkoal is that it's really slow. So even a min-speed Magearna cannot underspeed it in Trick Room. So Torkoal would go first under the Trick Room. So Magearna really has a pretty tough time breaking past the Torkoal. My game plan for Torkoal is trying to wear it down with the rest of my team so Magearna could have a good chance to put in work. Because Magearna never really has a bad matchup. It honestly could be the best Pokemon in the format. But with good playing and prep on Merc's end, Torkoal could have easily pressured Magearna to the point where I just would not be able to really go for any type of setup sweep. I would either have to just try to break things or wear things down for the rest of my team to potentially put in work. Now, in my mock battles, a lot of my wins were pretty close, like 2 and 3-0, and I actually lost one, kind of like I did against Gypsy King's team last week in my mock battles. So, especially with the way my games were coming down, they were like I said, 2 or 3-0 victories, some 1-0, but the way they were coming down, I always felt like I was in a losing position at some point. So I really expected, Merc to bring it to me and for me to be in a bad position. But as you're going to see, Merc did not bring the Torkoal. So what that means is that he likes a challenge. Merc is really going for it. He wants to see if he could prove the haters wrong, because last week, all everybody said was, Matty's matchup against Gypsy was just so godly that a 6-0 was inevitable. So, he wants to show everybody that that's not the case. You could be weak to Magearna and not get 6-0'd by it. So, we'll get right into this video. as I lead with my used Gligar, my Landorus Therian, as he leads with his Togekiss. Now, I'm faster than Togekiss, so if he is not holding a Choice Scarf, then I will get my Rocks up first before he can attack me. So I'm just going to go for my Rocks because it keeps up the pressure, even if he has Defog. And I could also scout for the set to see if he's Scarfed, as he does Air Slash me first. And as you're going to see here, I actually do get my Rocks up, so he probably brought Super Luck or something like that because he didn't bring his Torkoal, so it kind of adds up. So now I'm going to go into my Magearna here. Reason being, I don't want Magearna to take a lot of damage, but I know he's Scarfed, and I know I have a good amount of Spadef investment, and I have leftovers, so I could actually take a hit pretty well. And something like Blastoise that can come in on Togekiss, it can't do quite a lot back to Togekiss or even too much to his team. So I just figured I just don't lose much by going to Magearna, because if I do, I won't take much damage. I could force the Togekiss out and just keep the pressure up. So here I go into my Comfey. He named it Comfey because Merc said that Comfey is bad. So here I'm going to go right for the Calm Mind, as he is going to be forced to switch out. And he goes into his Klefki. And now, ladies and gentlemen, Klefki is not a really good check to Magearna, unless maybe he has something like Metal Sound. He could always Thunder Wave me, which he does, but unless I get paralyzed many turns in a row, Klefki can't do much to Magearna unless, like I said, he has the Metal Sound. So here I don't lose much by going for another Calm Mind to scout what he's going to do. And now that he has Thunder Wave me, if he does have the Metal Sound, I'm just going to go right for a Dazzling Gleam, because it'll do some decent damage even to a Spadef Klefki. As I can see here that he doesn't have leftovers, so I could wear this Klefki down, which would be nice. And if for whatever reason he does something crazy wild and decides to go hard into his Crocodile, expecting me to like keep setting up so he can get some damage off with Earthquake, because this is his best offensive check at this point, Dazzling Gleam would be the play, because he will, you know, lose his Crocodile if I don't get paralyzed. So Merc wouldn't do that though, because even though I know he likes the challenge, then he would basically be forfeiting to Magearna. So unless he wants to do that, then I don't think he would actually do that. So here he's going to stay in as I go for the Dazzling Gleam. And wait. No, Merc. Oh, buddy, what were you thinking? You switched in your only offensive check to my Magearna. Now, had he saved this Crocodile up and then sent it in at some other point, or just gone into something like, you know, Latios there, or Togekiss, then it could have been a scenario where he sent in his Crocodile later on, got tons of damage off with Earthquake, because if he's boosted, he'll knock me out. If he's not, which is likely because defensive Crocodile is good against my team, he could send in something else later that could potentially pick off Magearna, because even though Magearna is bulky and has special defense boosts, I still am paralyzed. So there's a good chance that he could potentially paralyze me and knock me out. So that definitely would have been his best play, or in his best interest, to save his Crocodile. As here he goes into Jirachi, and Merc loves that challenge. He's trying to 1v1 Magearna with Calm Mind Jirachi, as I'm just able to set up the Trick Room, because Merc said Trick Room is bad. I'm able to knock out that Jirachi in one shot with the Shadow Ball, which is pretty crazy. So here, I'm just going to get paralyzed a few times, as it's looking kind of bleak for Merc, because he does not have the Metal Sound Klefki. So I'm just going to be able to just keep firing off attacks here, because after all this damage, he's in range of a Dazzling Gleam, so I could go right for the Trick Room on the next turn. And if I don't get powered these next few turns, then Magearna just clicks Dazzling Gleam and the game is over. So I guess I'll just speed it up, as that is what happens. He Mega Evolves with his Lizard Wizard, and he gets knocked out by Dazzling Gleam, as now he goes into his Togekiss, Dazzling Gleam. He goes into his Greninja. That Water Shuriken is not going to be doing much, as I'm just able to knock him out with the Dazzling Gleam and pick up another 6-0 victory, 2 consecutive 6-0 victories with this Pokemon. Now, a lot of this was all sarcasm. This is something that Merc did to Toge last week, and I actually thought it was very entertaining, so I thought I would do the same thing back to him, all in good fun. But there is something I do want to address, that I don't want to ramble as long as I have been in my past recordings. So basically, there's a lot of salt in the league right now about this Pokemon, because a lot of people are just saying it's too broken, it's too much for the league, especially in the hands of someone of my caliber. Now, while I could definitely level with them and see where they're coming from, especially getting 6-0 wins over 2 of the, you know, elite players like Gypsy King and Mr. Murkrow, it's really bothering me, because my mock battles are not going this way. Like, I know for a fact that these games should not have had the deficits that they've had. I honestly think Merc if he prepared well, he should have beaten me. And Gypsy, he had a very rough matchup. So while I don't think he should have won that game, considering I prepped and played well, I think that had he brought something different, I think had he brought had a vastly different approach to how he prepared for that game, I think the results wouldn't have been nearly as bad. So it's just like come to the point where the results of the mocks do not lie. Like, I'm going against people who do not prepare as seriously as my actual opponents would with their own teams. They don't know their own teams as well. And, these guys are probably better than the people that I'm mocking, especially with their own teams. So the fact that I'm getting these close, narrow victories and even losing some in these mock battles and then getting these crazy 6-0 victories, I think a lot of it should be, instead of just pointed right at Magirna, I think a lot of it should be pointed towards the faults of these coaches as well. So that's what's bothering me, because I came back to the league solely to try to have a good time. I was watching my friends play, having a lot of fun. I was having fun helping them prepare, and I just kind of wished I was in on the action. And it just so happened that, Dallas Boy decided to drop out, and I was asked to pick up his team. Now, I thought it would be fun because his team is obviously very powerful, but it was all things that I really have not used before. So it's Pokemon that I'm not comfortable with. He left me off with a 1-3 record, so I just thought I would have some fun. I had a lot of tough opponents ahead, so I did not really expect to make the playoffs. And if I did, it would kind of be just like me squeaking in and just getting a chance to play people that I've never played before. Like, I've played Gypsy, but it's always fun playing Gypsy because he's so good, and I respect him so much as a player and as a person. So that's always something to be excited about. I've never played Jolt before this season, legitimately. I'd never played Merc. I have never played Zazo, who is someone I will be playing in the last week. I've never played Toge in a legitimate match. So these are all great players, like some of the best that I have never gotten to play before. So I was really excited about that. And the fact that I started off with a 1-3 record took a lot of pressure off my shoulders. And that's the thing. In these past 8 months, I've been putting so much pressure on myself, working so hard in this, in these leagues, to just get that one defining moment that I could just hold on to and always look back on, regardless of what happens to me in future leagues. Because that's how I am. I always want that type of defining moment that cannot be taken away from me. It just can't be debated, because I just want that for myself. It's not even about what other people view me as. It's just all about me having that one thing for myself that I've worked so hard for. And I know that I've worked much harder than a lot of the people who have gotten some of those moments. And that's not to take away from their moments, just saying that I worked really hard. So the fact that I'm coming short is very disappointing. So that is the main reason I did not join the NPL this season. So to come back with this triumphant return, beating 3 of the most elite players in Jolt, Gypsy King, and Merc, especially considering my matchup against Jolt was awful. And I got 6-0s against 2 incredible players in Gypsy King and Merc. Also considering my matchup against Merc wasn't very good either. You would think that I'm just, on top of the world, really enjoying everything. But no, I'm always on the opposite end of so much salt, especially in recent weeks. Everybody just kind of putting the blame on Magirna. And number one, kind of devaluing my efforts. And number two, really kind of, avoiding taking the blame on some of their own faults. And that's just frustrating to me, because it's kind of just taking the fun away of getting legitimate wins over these people, because it just makes it feel like they believe they're illegitimate wins and that it's just Magirna being too crazy. No matter what they could have done, they were going to lose to it anyway. So it bothers me, because it detracts from my efforts, and it's not just anybody who's saying this. These are my friends. So it definitely bothers me in that regard. And it also bothers me in the sense that I'm really trying to not put a lot of pressure on myself. I always get, nervous before my games, because I know that, Pokemon is a crazy game. You never know what's going to happen. And I know that I work hard to do well. So it's natural to get nervous against good opponents, even if it's not someone that you think is better than you. It's still natural to get nervous, because it's Pokemon, and you always want to do your best. So I think that's just something that's pretty natural for most people, especially for me. That's always how I've been. Even though I'm someone who's confident, I just get nervous before I actually perform, because, I want to do my best. I want to make sure that all my work pays off. And to see that a lot of my success has been undervalued by the brokenness, quote unquote, of Magirna. It's a little bit annoying because literally Merck in this game had to try to get 6-0'd by it, and he did. So that's kind of what's frustrating to me, because he did admit that he prepped and played poorly, but he was very strong about Magirna being ridiculous, needs to be banned. So that is frustrating, because not only does it like detract from the value of my wins, but it also, like I said, I'm trying not to get stressed out about these games. It kind of presents the stigma that Magirna plus someone of my caliber should not lose a single game, and that combined with other big threats like Lando T and Zardex, I should not lose a single game. And I don't like that idea, because I didn't come in thinking that at all. Like, I didn't think I would even have that great of a shot of making the playoffs, because obviously I think that I'm more than capable of making the playoffs and excelling in this league. But coming from a 1-3 record and all Pokemon I was never used to using, I just really didn't see it happening that way. So to now have this idea that I should not lose because my team is that good and Magirna is that good and I'm that good, all of those things combined is also frustrating, because it also takes away from the fun, because now, like, if I lose, it's my opponents being really good, and if I win, it's Magirna being really good. So that's frustrating to me, and it's just something I wanted to address here. So whatever, rant over. I'm not going to keep going. I said what I said. If I offended anybody by this video, especially Merc, I am sorry. I apologize. We can always talk about it. That really is never my intention to offend someone. I just really wanted to address something that's bothering me and be honest about it. So that is what I had to say. I hope you guys got something from this video. Maybe you enjoyed the sarcasm in the commentary against Merc, because that was legitimately all in good fun. And yeah, I just kind of wanted to get that out there, because the NPL is a place that I've really, really grown fond of for quite some time now. And all of a sudden, I'm just not having nearly as much fun, especially during a time where I should be having so much fun, considering I've notched like some of the biggest wins of my career in these last couple weeks. And, yet I'm not really feeling rewarded from it. So yeah, I guess maybe it sounds kind of ridiculous that I'm crying when I'm winning and that I'm on top, but I'm someone who hates being on the opposite side of salt, especially when it's my friends. So it's definitely frustrating for me to not only see my friends be so down about what's going on and like being so openly salty towards me, but also to have, like I said, my credit devalued, have the idea that I shouldn't lose because me plus Magirna and this broken team is just too much. So yeah, it's definitely an awkward spot for me to be in, and I just wanted to address it, because it would probably be odd for you guys to see me doing this well and then not being so happy about it. So I just wanted to explain where that's coming from, and yeah, just kind of get it out there for anyone else who's listening to this video, especially the people that I'm directing this video towards, to hear, because I want them to have good insight on how I'm feeling, because I don't want them to just, feel that I'm overreacting and being so much of a drama queen, because this is not what I wanted. I'm just looking to have a good time, get some good matches, and it's hard for me with everything that's been going on. So that's all I needed to say. Hope you guys, like I said, got something out of this video. We are now 5-3, and we have a very, very solid shot at making the playoffs. I believe if we win one more, we should probably clinch a playoff spot. But if we, continue some momentum, then there's a good chance we'll be able to get either the 2nd or the 3rd seed, which would be very nice for us. So, yeah, basically all I needed to say. We play Blake, Moxie, and Fernape next week, and the Baltimore Braviary. So hopefully we can notch another win there, keep the momentum going. And with that being said, have yourselves a fantastic day, as I will see you all in the next one. Later.